Captain Jennifer Hayes had seen many things during her 15 years exploring the outer colonies, but nothing quite prepared her for the Carvathy. The distress beacon had been broadcasting for 3 standard days when the USS Resolute picked it up. A Carvathy transport vessel, damaged by debris in the Hellion belt, life support failing. The Carvathy were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors, 8-foot-tall apex predators with silver fur, razor-sharp claws, and a pack mentality that made them formidable enemies. Humanity had maintained a tense peace with them for a decade, but it was fragile at best. "Captain, we're getting visual on the Carvathy ship," Lieutenant Marcus Webb reported from the navigation console. "Hull breaches on 3 decks. They won't last another 6 hours." Jennifer didn't hesitate. "Prepare boarding teams. Full rescue protocols." Her first officer, Commander David Richardson, leaned closer. "Captain, the Carvathy have made it clear they don't want human assistance. This could be seen as an act of aggression. Or an act of mercy," Jennifer replied, her jaw set. "I won't let people die because of politics. Move us into position." The rescue operation was tense. The Carvathy crew was hostile, snarling and snapping even as Jennifer's medical teams tried to stabilize them. But there was something else, a desperate urgency in their eyes that went beyond mere survival instinct. It was Dr. Emily Rodriguez who discovered them. "Captain." Emily's voice crackled over the comm, panicked and breathless. "Cargo Bay 7, there are cubs here. Carvathy children." Jennifer's blood ran cold. The transport wasn't military. It was civilian. Families. She ran through the corridors, her boots clanging against the metal deck plates. When she burst into Cargo Bay 7, she found Emily kneeling beside 3 small forms huddled in the corner. They couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 in human years, tiny compared to their adult counterparts, with oversized eyes and soft, downy fur. They were shivering, their breathing shallow and rapid. Hypothermia was setting in. "The environmental systems failed in this section hours ago," Emily said, her scanner showing dangerously low body temperatures. "They're dying, Captain." Without thinking, Jennifer stripped off her jacket and gathered the smallest cub into her arms. "Get thermal blankets, now. And bring them to my quarters, it's the warmest section on this deck." The other 2 cubs followed, too weak to resist. Jennifer's quarters were modest but comfortable, and most importantly, warm. She sat on her bunk, holding the smallest cub against her chest, while Emily wrapped the other 2 in emergency thermal blankets and pressed them close. "Body heat," Emily murmured. "It's the fastest way to bring their core temperatures up." Jennifer nodded, feeling the tiny heart beating rapidly against her ribcage. The cub made a small whimpering sound, and instinctively, she began to hum, an old lullaby her mother had sung to her decades ago on Earth. The vibration in her chest seemed to calm the creature. Hours passed. Emily dozed off in the chair, exhausted from the rescue operation. Jennifer remained awake, monitoring the cub's breathing. Gradually, their shivers subsided. The smallest one, the one pressed against Jennifer's chest, let out a tiny sigh and burrowed closer, its small claws gripping her shirt. She didn't hear them coming. The door to her quarters exploded inward with a screech of tearing metal. 6 Carvathy warriors poured through, led by the largest, Alpha Tkaran, the pack leader whose ship they'd rescued. His silver fur was matted with blood, his amber eyes blazing with rage and something deeper, primal fear for his young. "Where are," he roared, then froze. The scene before him defied everything his species believed about humans. The weak, soft prey creatures who conquered through machines and trickery rather than strength. Yet here sat one of them, small and fragile, with his youngest daughter sleeping peacefully on her chest. The other 2 cubs, his son and his brother's daughter, were curled against her sides, breathing steadily, alive. Jennifer didn't move. She met the Alpha's gaze calmly, even as her heart hammered in her chest. "They were freezing," she said quietly, careful not to disturb the sleeping cubs. "They needed warmth. Alpha Tkaren's claws extended, then slowly retracted. He took a step forward, nostrils flaring, scenting his children. They were healthy. Safe. Their scent was mingled with the humans, but there was no trace of fear or pain. His pack warriors growled, ready to tear the human apart for daring to touch their young. But Tkaren raised a massive paw, signaling them to stop. You. He rumbled, his voice like grinding stone, save them. Of course, Jennifer replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. Their children. Something shifted in the Alpha's eyes. In Karvathi culture, cubs were sacred. The pack protected them above all else, even at the cost of their own lives. For this human to risk everything, to give of her own body heat when she could have simply used machines, to comfort them with her own voice. It was a pack behavior. The behavior of a mother. Slowly, with great deliberation, Alpha Tkaren lowered himself to one knee, a gesture of profound respect among his people. His warriors stared in shock. No Karvathi Alpha had ever knelt before a human. We came for blood, Tkaren said, his voice thick with emotion. We thought you had stolen our young. But you protected them as pack. You gave them warmth from your own body. This is. He struggled with the words in standard, this is the highest honor. Jennifer felt the smallest cub stir against her chest, yawning to reveal tiny fangs. The child opened her eyes and saw her father, letting out a happy chirp before snuggling back against the human's warmth. They were cold, Jennifer repeated softly. Nothing else mattered. Alpha Tkaren rose slowly, approaching until he stood directly before her. With infinite gentleness, he reached out and placed his massive paw over Jennifer's hand. You are pack, he declared. From this day, you are Karvathi pack. My pack. And no harm will ever come to you or yours while we draw breath. The hostility between their species didn't evaporate overnight. But word spread quickly through both human and Karvathi space, the human captain who held dying cubs against her heart, who sang them to sleep while their people came for vengeance, and who asked nothing in return. It was a small moment. One person, 3 children, and a choice to see lives instead of enemies. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything. Captain Jennifer Hayes received the Karvathi Claw of Honor 3 months later, the first human ever bestowed the title of Pack Guardian. She still keeps a small tuft of silver fur in her quarters, a gift from the smallest cub, who the Karvathi named Jenrika, Little Jennifer, the one who lived.